inside the dim, amber-lit bar, where the air was thick with the scent of expensive bourbon and lingering cigarette smoke. Liam's lips were mere millimeters from mine, but just as our breaths began to interlace, I raised a trembling hand and pressed it firmly against his chest. I pulled out a tattered, glossy photograph of Jay, the man who had ripped my heart out and left it to rot, and whispered with a voice like sharpened ice, "Your expression is wrong. You're not him yet." Before Jay kissed me, he always parted his lips slightly, catching his breath as if I were his only oxygen. Have you ever loved someone so obsessively that you were willing to manufacture a doll with their exact face just to feel their presence again? To me, Liam was nothing more than a high-end tool. A puppet rented from an underground service called The Mirror. I hired him for one purpose: to drive Jay insane with jealousy. I didn't love Liam. I didn't even like him. I was using him as a weapon. Liam smirked, a dangerous glint in his eyes. He didn't pull away. Instead, he gripped my chin, forced my mouth open, and crashed his lips onto mine in a kiss so fierce it tasted like blood and rebellion. All while Jay stood across the room, frozen in a state of absolute, shattered shock. "Hi, I'm Vivi. I'm 26. I'm a fashion designer who spent years stitching her heart onto someone else's sleeve, only to have it ripped off and shredded. My current status? Obsessively single, or at least that's what the world thinks. I was with Jay for 5 long years. We were the it couple, until he dumped me like yesterday's trash, claiming my love was suffocating him. I didn't just want him back. I wanted him to feel the same agonizing burn he left in my chest. That's why I'm here, at this exclusive winter trade summit held at a luxury resort perched high on the snowy peaks of Aspen. I'm not alone. I'm clinging to the arm of Liam, my boyfriend for hire. The grand ballroom was a battlefield of silk, diamonds, and forced smiles. I arrived on Liam's arm, feeling the weight of 1,000 eyes, but I only cared about one pair: Jay. Liam was magnificent. He was doting, protective, and relentlessly charming. I was shocked at how flawlessly Liam executed the plan. Every time Liam leans in to whisper a secret in my ear or pulls me closer by the waist, I see Jay, who is standing just a few feet away with a group of investors, stiffening. His knuckles are white as he grips his glass, his eyes burning with a primal, jealous rage that I haven't seen in years. Liam is winning, and for the first time since the breakup, I feel like I'm the one holding the cards. I watched Jay crumble, his pride being trampled by a man who looks exactly like the better version of himself. But the real performance began when we encountered Jay near the bar. Liam didn't just ignore him, he dismantled him. With a smirk that was as sharp as a razor, Liam leaned in and whispered just loud enough for Jay to hear, "I truly must thank you, Jay. If you hadn't been foolish enough to let a treasure like Vivi slip through your fingers, I never would have known what it's like to possess perfection." I watched Jay's knuckles turn white as he gripped his crystal glass, his pride being shredded in front of the very elite he fought so hard to impress. But as I leaned into Liam to sell the lie, I felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Liam wasn't just acting for the paycheck anymore. The way he looked at me, it wasn't the gaze of an employee. It was the hungry, possessive stare of a predator who had just realized his prey was far more delicious than he anticipated. After that summit, the lines between the script and reality began to blur into a beautiful, terrifying mess. Liam didn't just act like a boyfriend. He started living the role. He dragged me into those cramped, neon-lit photo booths, making the most ridiculous, ugly faces with me, things Jay had always forbid me from doing because they were unprofessional. We spent hours outside in the biting cold, laughing until our lungs burned as we tried to lick a frozen metal pole on a dare. It was childish. It was stupid, and it was the most alive I had felt in years. I found myself looking at Liam and forgetting he was a paid employee. I felt a visceral, warm flutter in my chest that I hadn't felt for anyone but Jay. But Liam knew. He trapped me against a frost-covered wall, his breath a hot mist against my lips. "Stop pretending, Vivi," he whispered, his eyes dark with possession. "You're falling for me, the man who's here, not the ghost you're trying to evoke." My heart hammered against my ribs, caught between fear and desire, but the moment was shattered. I saw Jay standing a few yards away, his face contorted in a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. He didn't wait. He charged forward like a wounded animal, his hand snapping around my wrist like a shackle. He didn't say a word to Liam. He just began dragging me away through the deep snow, his grip so tight it felt like he wanted to break me. Jay dragged me into a private suite and slammed the door with a violence that made the paintings rattle. Before I could scream, he collapsed. The arrogant, untouchable Jay fell to his knees on the cold hardwood floor, clutching my waist as if I were his only lifeline. "Vivi, please," he choked out, his voice broken and raw. "Don't smile at him like that. Don't let him touch you. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. Just come back to me. I can't breathe without you." Seeing him so pathetic, so utterly defeated by his own jealousy, should have made me feel like a queen. It was exactly what I had prayed for. A few days later, I summoned Liam to my apartment to settle the debt. I stood there, cold and detached, as I delivered the final blow. "The mission is complete, Liam. You did your job well. Here is the final payment. Now, leave." Liam didn't argue. He didn't ask for more. He just stood at the door, looking at me with a smile that wasn't warm anymore. It was the smile of a hunter who had already laid the traps. He vanished into the night without a word. The honeymoon period with Jay lasted less than a week before the old patterns returned. He became distant, controlling, and possessive in all the wrong ways. The peace I expected never came. Instead, my phone became a source of terror. I began receiving anonymous photos, chilling, intimate shots of me sleeping, or my silhouette through the curtains at night. The angles were undeniable. They were taken from the exact spots where Liam used to stand. I was convinced he was stalking me. I rushed to find my contract with the Mirror to call the police, but as I tore through the drawers, I found something else. An old, forgotten phone belonging to Jay. Inside, I discovered a hidden folder. There were recordings of bitter family arguments and photographs of a younger Jay standing next to Liam. They were in school uniforms, looking like two sides of the same coin. The truth hit me like a physical blow. Liam wasn't a stranger. He was Jay's disowned half-brother, a man who had been erased from the family history after a scandal years ago. He hadn't targeted me because of an app. He had used me as the ultimate weapon in a lifelong vendetta against the brother who had stolen his birthright. And when I tried to look up the Mirror again, the website was a ghost. The office was an empty, dust-covered shell. I had invited a monster into my bed to spite a man I thought I loved. The air turned to ice as Liam stepped out of the shadows by my balcony, looking as if he had never left. At the exact same second, Jay burst through the front door, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and protectiveness. I stood paralyzed between them, two men with the same face, but souls filled with different shades of darkness. One was the toxic love I couldn't quit. The other was the perfect replica who had made me feel seen, even if it was part of a revenge plot. Both had lied. Both had used me, but as I looked into their eyes, I had to wonder, amidst all the manipulation, did a real heart ever beat for me? Who should I walk toward? The man who broke me, or the man who was built to destroy him? What do you think will happen in this tangled web of betrayal? Who should I choose? The calculated Liam or the repentant Jay? Leave your theories in the comments, give us a 5-star rating, and follow the channel to witness the explosive fallout of this secret. Stay tuned!